You ever look at her and wonder when she stopped being on your side? When every conversation feels like a trap? When you start filtering your truth just to avoid another emotional explosion? When you're walking on eggshells in your own damn life? That's not love. That's not partnership. That's war in disguise. If she does the things I'm about to break down, she's not confused. She's not misunderstood. She's strategic, calculated. She's emotionally hijacking your life, piece by piece. And if you don't walk, you will lose your identity as a man. Stay locked in. I'm about to hand you the playbook she never wanted you to listen to. Comment, "I choose peace," if you've ever stayed too long in a relationship that chipped away at your soul. Every man watching this has been there. You were loyal, committed. You tried to fix it. You swallowed your pride, your instincts, your rage, just to hold it together. Because deep down, you believed in love. You believed in her. And most of all, you believed you could make it work. But she changed. And somewhere in the chaos, you changed too. You became quiet. Number apologetic for simply existing. Man, I made this for you. This isn't advice. This is a lifeline. The things I'm about to expose are why men walk away silently. No final fight, no closure. Just the silent decision to never let themselves be broken again. Support this channel if these words speak to your core, because the world silences men every day. And by supporting, you're making these truths impossible to ignore. You're making them accessible to the ones who need it most. Number 1, she weaponizes her emotions. You ever feel like you're always wrong even when you know you're right? Like every time you speak your truth, somehow you're the one apologizing for making her uncomfortable or hurting her feelings, even though all you did was bring up something that didn't sit right with you, and somewhere in your gut, you know this isn't just a miscommunication. It's a pattern, a repeated cycle, where your clarity is twisted into cruelty and your honesty is spun into aggression, and it always ends with you biting your tongue, walking away confused or worse, questioning your own sanity. And this right here is one of the most dangerous forms of manipulation you will ever face as a man, because when a woman starts weaponizing her emotions, she's no longer having a relationship with you. She's having a performance where you're the villain, and she is the always innocent, always fragile victim who cannot be questioned, cannot be confronted, cannot be held to account, because her emotions become the shield against all criticism, all truth, all responsibility. And this is how you slowly lose your grip on reality, because you start thinking maybe you're overreacting, maybe you're too harsh, maybe you're just bad at relationships. But deep down, you're drowning in a place where every feeling you have is invalidated, every instinct is treated like a threat. And this is not love, this is not vulnerability, this is not someone who's emotionally open. It's someone who uses emotion as a tool to dominate, to confuse, to disarm. And every time you give in, every time you say I'm sorry just to restore peace, just to get through the day, you're training her that tears win, breakdowns win, emotional chaos wins, and you lose a piece of yourself piece by piece. And it's so dangerous because it doesn't look like control, it looks like sensitivity, and the world will side with her every time because you're a man. And when a man says, I'm being manipulated, he's mocked, dismissed, told to man up. But I'm here to tell you that a man who keeps swallowing this will one day wake up completely hollow. And the worst part is, he won't even recognize himself, because he's become a man who doubts his gut, avoids conflict, and lives under the rule of someone else's emotions. Not truth, not reason, not peace, but emotional dictatorship. And what she's doing, consciously or not, is enforcing a dynamic where you cannot win, where you're either silent and controlled or expressive and punished. And the longer you stay in this dance, the more your confidence will rot, strip you of your masculine core, your direction, your edge, until you become safe, predictable, and emotionally trained to fear her reactions more than you value your own integrity. And if you're in this, if this sounds like your life, then I need you to understand something. This is not a situation where more understanding will fix it. This is not about communication skills or reading another relationship book, because what she's doing is not confusion. It's a strategy, whether she realizes it or not. And if you keep giving in, keep trying to be better while she refuses to own her behavior, you will destroy your own spirit trying to fix something that is designed to break you. And what do? What can you do when you're being hit with this over and over again? First, you must stop reacting. Stop emotionally rewarding her outbursts. Stop apologizing when you haven't done anything wrong. Stop participating in the emotional circus. And I don't mean be cold or cruel. I mean be stoic, because Stoicism is not about being emotionless. It's about not being ruled by emotion, hers or yours. And it starts with silence, with holding your ground, with not letting chaos drag you into the mud every time she feels like spiraling. And when she breaks down, don't chase her, don't explain, don't fix. Let her sit with her storm. Let her feel the weight of her own behavior. And the moment you stop participating in the game, you change the entire dynamic, because she only plays because you play back. And if she's using tears to win arguments, if she's flipping reality every time you speak, then you are not loved. You are managed. And to step out of that, you must build your life again from the inside out. Strengthen your body, because a strong body is hard to ignore. Go to the gym not to impress her, but to remind yourself that you are capable of discipline, of change, of pain without quitting. And train not just your arms, but your eyes. Look in the mirror and see the man you've been hiding under layers of fear and shame, and speak again, not to her, but to yourself, because the first voice that must return is yours. And when you have your voice back, you must start acting from principle, not peacekeeping. And that means when something feels off, you say it. When she spins it, you disengage. When she explodes, you stay calm. Not cold, calm, because your calmness is power. And the moment she sees that you are no longer moved by guilt or tears or tantrums, you will reveal her, to herself, to others. And sometimes the only way to end the manipulation is to expose it with your stability. And if she grows, if she reflects, if she truly loves you, she'll rise with you. But if she doubles down, if she gets worse, then you must walk. Not because you hate her. I know this isn't easy. I know you may love her deeply, and that's why this hurts. But let me tell you something painful and real. Love is not enough when respect is gone. And a woman who uses her emotions to control you will never truly see you as a man, because in her world, your job is not to lead, it's to obey. And the moment you challenge that, the moment you say no, she will rage, she will cry, she will accuse, and that is the test. That is the moment that defines you. And if you fold, she wins, and you lose everything that made you worth loving in the first place. So instead, stand up, not just to her, but to yourself, to the boy in you who thought love meant self-sacrifice, who thought being a man meant being endlessly forgiving, endlessly patient, endlessly understanding. No, being a man means knowing where your line is and defending it with your soul. And if you want to know where to start, start by writing down what you will no longer tolerate, not just from her, but from yourself. Make a list of the truths you've buried to keep the peace. Read them daily and act accordingly. And I promise you, the day you stop tolerating disrespect masked as emotion is the day you stop surviving and start living again. Because the truth is this: you don't need her to change, you need you to change. And when you do, your whole life will shift. The fog will clear, the silence will feel sacred, and you will never again be that man who sat in shame trying to love someone who weaponized every tear against him. Number 2, she undermines you in public. You don't fully understand how much it breaks you until you've lived it, until you've felt that sting in your chest the moment she laughs at you in front of her friends. When you make a suggestion or share an idea, and instead of support or even silence, she cuts you off with sarcasm, a side comment, or worse, that condescending laugh, and everyone chuckles along with her, thinking it's just playful, not realizing that what they're laughing at is the erosion of your self-worth. And you feel it, don't you? The slow collapse of your confidence, because it never starts with yelling or full-on disrespect. No, it starts subtle, almost unnoticeable. She corrects the way you speak mid-sentence, tells stories about your flaws with a little twist to make you look foolish, interrupts you when you're sharing something meaningful to shift the spotlight back on herself. And in the beginning, you ignore it. You think she's just joking, or maybe I did say that wrong, because you want to believe she still respects you. But over time, those moments stack up, and they become a pattern, one that shapes how others see you, but more dangerously, how you see yourself. Because if the woman you love doesn't take you seriously, how can anyone else? And this right here is where most men lose their identity. Not in betrayal, not in rage, but in the slow public dismantling of who they are by the one person who should have had their back. And the damage is deeper than you realize, because what she's doing is undermining not just your words, but your presence, your role as a man. And the real kicker is, society applauds it. They call it sass, confidence, or a woman with attitude. But if you ever tried to flip it, to joke about her body, her intelligence, her career, you'd be destroyed for it. So you stay silent, you take it, you smile while dying inside, because you think love is about compromise. But what's really happening is a psychological castration, where your leadership, your opinions, your voice are gradually invalidated, and eventually you don't even try to speak up anymore. And this isn't just her being too bold or playful. This is a strategy, conscious or unconscious, to establish control by eroding your authority in the one place you should never be questioned, in public. And let's be clear, the moment she starts clowning you in front of others, the relationship has shifted from partnership to performance, where she plays the strong, witty lead, and you're the sidekick, the punchline, the fool. And men tolerate this because they've been taught that being stoic means being silent. But Stoicism doesn't mean accepting disrespect. It means controlling your reaction, not your standards. And a woman who belittles you in front of others is showing the world how little she fears your departure, because deep down, she believes you won't walk. And this belief is what empowers her to keep pushing, keep testing, keep cutting deeper. And it gets worse when you succeed, when you're doing well. You think she'd be proud, but she makes comments like, well, it's not that big a deal, or you finally did something useful. And those words are poison wrapped in humor. And she'll say you're too sensitive, that you can't take a joke. But it's not a joke when it chips away at your dignity. It's not a joke when you feel smaller every time she opens her mouth. And if you stay in that long enough, you'll start doubting your worth entirely. And that's exactly what this does. It makes you second-guess your value not just to her, but to the world. And that's when you become passive, agreeable, soft, because you think being less assertive will keep the peace. But all it does is give her more room to dominate, and make no mistake. That's exactly what this is. Domination. Because in a healthy relationship, a woman protects her man's name, especially when others are watching. She uplifts him, amplifies him, backs him up. And if she has an issue, she brings it to him in private. Not as a show of dominance, but as a gesture of respect. And if you've never had that, you'll mistake the absence of insults for love. But that's just emotional starvation. And let's talk about specific scenarios, like when you're out to dinner with her friends and you're telling a story. Maybe it's something meaningful to you, something that shows your personality, and midway she cuts in with, "Oh, wait, let me tell it, you're gonna mess it up." And just like that, she steals the spotlight, makes a joke of your voice, and everyone laughs while you swallow that quiet humiliation. That's one of those moments that looks small but feels massive, because it tells you loud and clear, your voice isn't valid here. Or imagine you're at a family gathering and someone asks you a question about your work, and before you can answer, she jumps in with a dig like, "He tries, but you know how distracted he gets." And suddenly, everyone's laughing at your expense, and you sit there smiling, dying inside. And if this happens more than once, it's not coincidence, it's not character, it's contempt. And if you're living with this, brother, you need to understand, it's not going to stop until you stop it. And that doesn't mean yelling, arguing, or matching her energy, because that's what weak men do. Strong men lead with presence, not performance, and presence starts with boundaries, and boundaries mean saying, "Don't speak about me like that." Not with anger, but with clarity. And if she reacts with defensiveness, if she flips it on you, then you've got your answer. She was never about partnership, she was about power. And you can't build with someone who needs to dominate you to feel secure. And what should you do if this is your life? First, pull back emotionally, not as punishment, but as protection, because every moment you spend bonding with someone who publicly humiliates you is a betrayal of your own dignity. And next, start reclaiming your voice. Speak less in crowds if she interrupts you, and more in places where you're respected, because confidence doesn't grow where you're cut down. It grows where you're seen, and you must be ruthless about putting yourself in environments where your presence matters. And if you think you can't leave her, ask yourself why. Are you staying because of love, or because you've been convinced you won't be loved again? Because that's the trap most men fall into, believing that this woman's approval is the peak of what they deserve. But that's a lie she's sold you by slowly dismantling your self-image, and it's time to build that back up. And how do you start? You start by being brutally honest with yourself. How many times has she made you look small in front of others? How many times have you laughed along just to survive the moment? How many times have you said nothing because you didn't want to make it worse? And then you ask yourself, what kind of man do you want to be? The kind who's respected behind closed doors but mocked in public? Or the kind who commands respect no matter the setting, no matter the audience, because real respect is consistent, and a woman who truly loves you knows this. She doesn't need to show the world that she's clever at your expense. She shows the world that she's proud to be beside you, and if you've never experienced that, you will, the moment you decide that your silence is no longer the price of peace. And to the man listening to this, feeling that knot in your chest because this is your life, I see you, and you're not weak, you're not broken. You've just been surviving under someone who never valued the real you, and it's time to change that, to speak, to walk, to reclaim every inch of the respect you've handed over for the illusion of love, because you were not made to be someone's prop, someone's clown, someone's emotional servant. You were made to lead, to speak, to stand tall in every room, and if she can't let you do that without mocking you, then she doesn't deserve you. And the best thing you can do, not just for yourself, but for every man watching you, is to walk away from anything that makes you feel small in public, just to feel slightly safe in private. Because if you're being disrespected out loud, you're already dying inside, and you deserve better, not someday, but now. Number 3, she plays games with your time. It always starts small. She tells you she'll be ready in 10 minutes and takes 45. She tells you she'll call you back and never does. She says, "Let's meet at 7, and shows up at 7:45 without explanation. And you brush it off at first because it seems harmless. You tell yourself she's just busy or bad with time, or that women are like that sometimes. But what you don't see, what you must understand, is that every time she dismisses your time, every time she shows up late without care, every time she treats your schedule like a joke, she is showing you exactly how little she values you, because time is the purest form of respect. And when someone respects you, they do not waste your time. They do not play games with it. They do not show up late and act like it doesn't matter, because they know your time is your life. And when a woman plays games with your time, what she's really doing is checking your limits. She's testing to see how far she can push without consequence, because the man who tolerates repeated lateness, the man who waits around after being ghosted, the man who lets her cancel plans last minute and still gives her his energy, that man is communicating that his time is negotiable, that his boundaries are soft, that his presence is not something earned, but something given. And the more you tolerate, the worse it gets, because she sees that she can control you not with words, but with uncertainty, and that's the game. It's not about schedules, it's about power, because uncertainty creates tension, and tension gives her the upper hand, so she won't text back right away, not because she's busy, but because she wants you to wonder, to chase, to feel that ache of not knowing, because that gives her power. Your mind is on her, while hers is on whatever serves her in the moment, and it sounds harsh, but this is real. A woman who respects your presence shows up with intention, with punctuality, with energy, and a woman who sees you as an option. She keeps you waiting, she ignores your time, she double books her day and cancels on you when something more exciting pops up, and she'll disguise it as being overwhelmed or tired or in her own world. But the truth is simple. When someone matters, they make time, and if she's always unavailable, always rescheduling, always vague, she's already made her choice, and you're just not accepting it, and I get it. Maybe she's beautiful, maybe you've invested time, maybe you believe this is just a phase, but ask yourself, when was the last time she planned around you? When was the last time she made you feel like your time mattered? When was the last time she respected your calendar, your effort, your life? And if the answer is, I can't remember, then you already know. And look, I'm not telling you to be cold or rigid, but you must have standards, because your time is your essence. And a man without time boundaries is a man who will be drained by every woman who senses weakness. And if you're constantly rearranging your day to accommodate her whims, canceling on people because she changed her mind, showing up to places where she arrives late and unfazed, then what you're doing is slowly dissolving your masculinity to maintain connection. And connection built on chaos is not connection, it's submission. And every time she keeps you waiting without apology, every time she bails without warning, every time she tells you last minute that she's not coming, and you say, it's okay, you are teaching her that your time is cheap, and men who value their time do not allow it to be handled like an afterthought. And maybe you think saying it's okay is being mature, being patient, being understanding. But real maturity is accountability, and being understanding of consistent disrespect is not noble, it's weak. And women do not stay with men they do not respect. They do not trust men who tolerate nonsense, and they certainly do not love men who are always available when they themselves are unreliable. And you might say, but what if she's going through something? And sure, once, twice, you give grace, but patterns matter more than apologies. And if the pattern is that your time is always last on her list, then the truth is, she doesn't see you as a priority. And if she doesn't see you as a priority, why are you making her yours? And I'll give you something that might hurt. The man who walks away from games with his time doesn't lose the woman. He exposes her, because if she truly valued him, she would course correct, she would adjust, she would show up differently. But if she doubles down, if she acts like you're the problem for expecting commitment to plans, then what she's really saying is, I will not honor your time because I know you'll still be there. And the moment you break that pattern, not with words, but with action, is the moment everything changes. Because when you stop waiting, when you stop responding instantly, when you stop shifting your whole life for someone who shows up when it's convenient, you begin reclaiming your life, your focus, your dignity. And how do you start? It starts with saying no, not with resentment, but with clarity, saying no. That doesn't work for me. When she tries to reschedule at the last second, saying, let's not meet tonight. When she texts you late after blowing you off earlier, saying, I've already made plans. When she expects you to be on call 24/7, and I'm telling you, the first time you do it, she will be shocked. The second time she'll be angry, and the third time she'll either step up or vanish, and either way, you win. Because a woman who vanishes when she can't control your time was never with you. She was with the version of you she could manipulate. And men, this is where your life changes, because once you start respecting your own time, everything shifts. You stop entertaining chaos. You stop dating women who treat you like a backup plan. You stop giving your minutes to people who wouldn't lift a finger for you, and instead, you pour that time into your goals, your health, your tribe, and suddenly, you're no longer available to women who treat your schedule like an afterthought, because you're busy building something real, and you realize the woman worth your time is the one who plans, who checks in, who shows up. Not because you demanded it, but because she values it and values you. And if you want that kind of woman, you must first become that kind of man, the kind who honors his time like his life depends on it, because it does. And you don't get there by asking her to change. You get there by changing your response, by making it clear through your actions that flaky energy is not welcome in your world, that your presence is earned, not assumed, that you are not an option, not a standby, not a maybe. You are a man with direction, and men with direction don't chase chaos. They walk away from it. They say no to games. They say yes to peace, and they keep moving toward the life they are building with or without her. And when she sees that, truly sees it, she will either evolve or exit, and both are blessings, because in this world, your time is your standard, and once you raise that, you will never again settle for someone who shows up late, not because she had to, but because she knew you'd still be there waiting. Number 4, she resents your growth. At first, she was your biggest fan. She cheered for you, praised your ambition, told you she believed in you, admired the way you spoke about your future, the discipline you showed, the quiet fire behind your eyes, and that early energy felt like something real, like she was truly in your corner. But slowly, subtly, something shifted. Not all at once, but gradually, quietly. And you didn't want to believe it at first, because you remembered how it started, how supportive she used to be, how she looked at you when you were just getting started on your goals, your business, your personal growth. But now, the more focused you become, the more you commit to improving your life, the more uncomfortable she seems. And it's not just a lack of support, it's resistance, it's tension, it's subtle resentment that leaks out in her tone, her body language, her offhand comments. Like when you say you're hitting the gym and she mocks it with, "You're obsessed with your body lately," or when you pass on late-night junk food and she rolls her eyes and says, "You're no fun anymore," or when you stay up late building your project, and instead of respect, she complains that you're always working. But you know it's deeper than that. You feel the energy shift, and that's what hurts the most, because the man you're becoming, the stronger, sharper, more grounded version of yourself, isn't being celebrated by the woman you thought was with you for the long run, and that's when the real truth starts to reveal itself. She didn't fall for who you are. She fell for who you were, the version of you that made her feel more secure, more needed, more in control. And now that you're growing, now that you're evolving into a man who doesn't need emotional validation to feel worthy, into a man who's less available for nonsense, who's more committed to vision than entertainment, who's becoming clearer in his standards and sharper in his choices. She's starting to pull away, not in distance necessarily, but in spirit, in energy, in attitude, and it begins to show in how she responds to your wins, if she even acknowledges them at all. When you hit a goal, does she celebrate it or criticize how you got there? When you share an idea, does she lean in with curiosity or dismiss it with sarcasm? When you're in your zone, when your confidence is rising, when your masculinity is centered, does she soften to that strength or push against it like it threatens her? Because the answer to those questions is where the truth lives, and for so many men, that truth is devastating. That the woman they believed would grow with them only loved them when they were stagnant, passive, comfortable to be around. And the moment that man starts becoming dangerous to mediocrity, she turns cold, or worse, competitive. And this isn't just theory. This is lived reality for thousands of men who committed to bettering themselves, only to realize that the partner they had wasn't interested in a better version of them, because a better you forces her to confront her own growth or lack of it. And if she's not willing to level up, she'll try to pull you down, not overtly, but through emotional jabs, passive aggression, and guilt. Real guilt, like, "You're always doing your own thing lately," or "You don't make time for me anymore," or "You think you're better than me now." And those words sting, not because they're true, but because you can feel the insecurity behind them. And instead of choosing to rise with you, she resents what your growth reveals about her complacency. And I know what you're thinking. Isn't love supposed to be supportive? Isn't she supposed to want me to grow? And yes, but not every woman is built for the man you're becoming. Some are only built for the man you used to be, and they'll never say it out loud, but their actions will. The snide remarks, the eye rolls, the lack of interest, the lack of engagement. And if you don't catch it early, you'll start shrinking yourself to maintain the peace. You'll start playing small, skipping the gym, delaying your goals, ignoring your habits just to avoid the tension. And soon you're right back where you started. Disconnected from purpose, reliant on her moods, apologizing for simply wanting more out of life. And that is the beginning of your downfall. Not because she's evil, but because she's afraid, and she's trying to keep you at the level where she still feels powerful. And what makes this more dangerous than anything is that it wears the mask of love. It sounds like, "I miss you." It sounds like, "I just want us to spend more time together." It sounds like, "You're changing." And those phrases hit you in the heart because you start to feel guilty for becoming who you were meant to be. But you must. Understand this. Any woman who truly loves you will never shame your growth. She will never resent your hunger. She will never try to dim the fire you spent years trying to build, because she'll see it not as a threat, but as a reflection of what's possible for both of you. She'll want to grow with you, not slow you down. She'll match your pace, not mock it. She'll fuel your fire, not fight it. And if that's not what you're getting, if every move you make toward bettering yourself is met with coldness, disconnection, or passive resistance, then you're in the presence of someone who loved the man you were, not the man you're becoming. And staying in that kind of relationship is the slowest kind of death, because it convinces you that ambition is selfish, that strength is toxic, that focus is distance, and that love means limitation, and that's a lie. Because the right relationship won't require you to shrink. It will challenge you to rise. And if you're not getting that, if you're constantly explaining why you want to improve, if you're constantly defending your desire to become stronger, if you're constantly apologizing for growing, then you're being emotionally taxed just for evolving. And that's not partnership, that's prison. And you must be brave enough to face this, to admit that the woman who once inspired you now subtly resents you, and the only way forward is honesty. Not with her, but with yourself. Ask yourself, how does she react when I'm winning? Does she light up or shut down? Do I feel encouraged or drained? And then act accordingly. And acting accordingly doesn't mean you confront her with drama or try to convince her to change. It means you keep growing anyway. You stop explaining yourself, you stop diluting your power, and you give her the choice. Rise with me or watch me walk, because love without alignment is chaos, and compatibility without mutual ambition is stagnation. And if you want to keep rising, you can't stay with someone who's trying to hold you at their level. And I know it's hard. I know you probably love her. I know you have history. I know you've seen glimpses of who she could be. But you cannot let potential override reality. And the reality is, a woman who resents your growth will never celebrate your success. She will never love the man you're becoming, only mourn the one she could control. And if that's what you're dealing with, it's time to choose yourself. Not because you're selfish, but because you finally understand that the only way to lead a powerful life is to stop apologizing for your evolution and start demanding environments and relationships that make it non-negotiable. And if any part of this video spoke to you, if even one line made you stop and say, "That's me," then you already know what you need to do. Not tomorrow, not next week, but now. Because the moment you see the truth, you can't unsee it. And the man who stays in a space where he's disrespected, manipulated, mocked, or held back is a man choosing comfort over greatness. And you were not built to live beneath yourself. You were built to rise, to lead, to walk boldly toward a life where you are seen, heard, and valued. Not for being easy, but for being whole. And if that means walking away from someone who couldn't handle your light, so be it. Because the price of staying small is your soul, and you owe it to yourself to never again beg for the kind of respect you should command by simply walking in the room. If this message hit home, like, share, comment below, I choose clarity over chaos, and subscribe. Because when you do that, you're not just supporting this channel, you're helping spread truth to the men who are suffering in silence, who need this message more than they'll ever admit.